Too honest, too real. She's probably oversharing. Here's Tori. Welcome.
It's the book. Book one was called Quicksilver. Like everyone's reading it right now. So I gotta like read this stuff to like one kind of stay up with people. Like when you work at a hair salon, dude, you gotta stay up on like what to talk to people about, and you never watch the news. And that way people have like things to tell you, right? Because then you're always just like, oh my god, I had no idea that was going on. Makes them feel really good. Makes you feel really good. And then you've got like, this like connection point, right? And then with books, it's like, okay, what did you like? What did you not like? Like, did you find any like plot holes? Like, what did you think of these characters? So you got like all this stuff. So I'm listening to this book, Brimstone. And like book one was like, it was pretty good, I guess, but it is romantasy. So it's just, I don't know. There's like a lot of fluff, you know what I mean? And I personally like story. Like, story is like my favorite part. And so I'm listening to this book on my way to work. It's raining. I had no idea that there's like a flood warning going on until later that day after I already had my own little encounter with it. So I'm on the highway. I'm listening to this book. It's like ramping up to like one of these little like lovey scenes. I go to get in the left lane. I'm not going crazy fast, but looking back, it's like, yeah, I was going probably too fast for what was happening. But I was definitely going like under 60. So I get in the left lane, and this guy behind me, he like flashes me, and I was like, okay, well, that's weird, because I didn't like, we had a lot of space between us. Then there was like a good amount of space between me and the next car. But then I realized immediately why he flashed me is because there's freaking so much water, dude. So much water, and it's like unperceptible. You can't see it. And so I start hydroplaning. And that is scary. When I was like 17, 18, I got in a car wreck. I was on my way home from my job at Bed Bath and Beyond, and there's like this curve on the way back to my house, and it was wet, and I hydroplaned a little bit, and then my right tire like slipped off the edge of the road, and um I just, I was young, dude. When you're young, you're not a good driver, and like you overreact. So my tire goes off the road a little bit, and I yank it back on, and when I yank it, my car flips, and it flipped like two or three times. It was like a little Honda Civic, and it was really scary. I had dreams for like years just with like the metal crunching, and like I hit my sunroof. It was crazy. I like threw my arms up over my head like whenever it happened, like, just like balled up in a ball. And like whenever it flipped like driver's side first. And so like lucky for me, I like threw my left arm like up, and it probably saved me from getting some pretty messed up like head damage. But it like split the ligament or whatever it is that like joins the two bones like in your like forearm. Split it, so I was kind of messed up for a little while. But it was like my last week of hair school too, so I was so pissed because like I had stuff to get done and my arm was like all messed up, and my teachers were like completely unsympathetic about it. Assholes. So needless to say, I got a little bit of trauma surrounding hydroplaning. So it starts to like pull me to the left a little bit, and I go to like correct it to the middle, and it pulls me like really hard to the right. Well, I'm in the left lane. So on my left side, there's a wall dividing the interstate from like the other side. And then to the right of me is an SUV. And I was like, oh my God. Because like behind me is an SUV, in front of me is an SUV, and to the side of me. So in these situations, it's kind of crazy how your brain, like, you can process all this information at like hyper speed. And so I'm thinking all this stuff, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay. So I realize as it starts to pull like really, really hard to the right that I've tapped the brake a couple times, which you're not supposed to do. And so I was like, okay, shit. And he like just try to like straighten it, really just stay calm, straighten it, just like real easy, let off the brake, and then it was like pulling to the left again. And I was like, okay, so I need to like hit the gas. So, not always is this the thing to do, but it is like a thing to do whenever you hydroplane. And so I get to the left, and you got like the little bumpy bits on the road. So I got like my left tires on the bumpy bits and hit the gas a little bit. And then, like, once it felt like it was like moving straight, I just let my car kind of like slow down. And then I got left in the right lane. And at that time, like, the road was kind of starting to like turn where the right side was higher because the road was like curving a little bit. And then I was like, whew, I'm like, made it, you know? And so I drive pretty slow the rest of the way to work. And I was like, mentally, I probably should have pulled off for a minute, and just processed. My hands were like shaking so bad. It was crazy. It was so scary. But like in the midst of like all of those thoughts that I just told you guys, there also was this thought of like, I will not fucking die listening to this book, dude. I will not. I will not do it. I can't. I can't die like this, you know? It would be so embarrassing. Oh, but, anyways, so let me update you guys on the Airbnb saga, which, as I told you guys in the last episode, I converted my Airbnb into a long term rental. So the week before Christmas, I went down and sold all the furniture. Some of it even a couple days after the tenants moved in, I had people picking stuff up. My car actually right now is still full of items. I have not fully emptied it, but the inside of my house looks ridiculous because it's like I put a house inside of another house. There's just stuff everywhere, dude. Like, our couch literally just has TVs laying on it. It's insane. So we're supposed to try to put the big one up today, so that'll get one out of the way. But my God, like, it's a crazy amount. So my tenants move in. There's like this little thing going on with the electricity. They let me know about it. I had noticed it the last day that I was there, but I was just like, huh. But I was running carpet shampooers, I had a dehumidifier going, I had heaters going. I had a lot of stuff on. And that house is really old. It was built in like 1953. So, like sometimes whenever I would pull a lot of power with the shampooer, it would like flicker a little bit. The lights would. But I just dismissed it. So they move in. They're like, oh yeah, the lights are flickering a little bit. It's weird, but old house, whatever. So like 3 days later, they text me. They're like, hey, so the flickering lights thing's still happening, and now we don't have any hot water. And I was like, okay, that's weird because literally 3 weeks ago, I put in a new hot water heater. So I'm like, all right. So I call the power company. I'm like, hey, is there anything wrong on you guys' end? They check everything, and they're like, oh, we don't think so, but we won't know until you have an electrician out, and they gotta like communicate with us type deal. So I'm like, all right. So I get an electrician out there, but all of this was happening like right at New Year's. So I'm calling. No one's picking up. Leave multiple voicemails, and I'm not hearing anything back. So like 2 days pass, maybe. They hit me up and they're like, hey, we don't have power at all. I'm like, oh my God, dude, this freaking nightmare, man, just won't end. So finally, I like attempt to make some phone calls at night. It's like 9 o'clock at night, so it's like 8 p.m. there because there's an hour difference. So I I finally get someone actually on the phone. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, we can get somebody out there tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, like, let me call a couple of different places or something like that, And they're like, okay, well, let us know because we're going to close in like 10 minutes. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, okay, fine, just fucking schedule it, man. Just schedule it. So I get it scheduled. They go out there. So in the middle of my workday, because that next day, like, they come out on a Saturday, right? And this always happens. Like, I don't know. To the rest of the world who owns homes, like, is this a thing? I don't know, but I know for my house, it seems to be a universal ha that anytime something is going to break, it's going to be on a holiday. Like, one of the biggest AC units went out on July 4th this last year. And it was, crazy. And it's happened multiple times. So I don't know. So I'm like, okay, well, they're going to come out on a Saturday. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, if they fix it actually on Saturday, it's going to be really expensive. But I like went through everything with chat. I had put in all the stuff that was happening. And we had concluded, like, it gave me 3 ranges for fixes. And one of them was like, 1,500. The next one was like 2,500, 3,000. And then the next one was like, highly unlikely. And it didn't even get it fucking right, dude. So irritable with chat after that one. So I budgeted like $3,000, right? I'm like, okay, it's expensive to just unexpectedly have to come up with. And I just dropped like $1,000 on the hot water heater a couple weeks ago. But this is owning a house, and this is owning an old house. It's fine. Like, I've accepted that, So the guy calls me. I'm in the middle of my workday. I'm double booked. Saturday's crazy. Like, it's one of my busiest days at the salon. I still work behind the chair. And he's like, yeah, so, like, the main meter on the house is, like, toast. We're going to have to get a new one. And then in Florida, if you replace that, you also have to replace the breaker box. And then, like, there's all these other little things, right? They got to have, like, certain supplies to, like, like the feeder. They got to, like, feed it in. It depends on how close how accessible everything is, how close is the breaker box to the meter, et cetera, et cetera. I learned a lot in this experience, as I do every time something breaks. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm learning so much about house systems, which is crazy. You think that I would know a lot more about them just based on the fact that, like, I was a real estate agent for, like, a year or 2 or something like that. So you learn all kinds of stuff, but never learned about some of the things that have kept happening to me. So I'm talking to the guy on the phone. He's telling me all the stuff, and I'm, like, still have to go back to work after this. I'm just talking to this guy, trying to get it sorted. And he's like, yeah, so it's going to be like $8,300. Dude, what? Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a moment where, like, your freaking heart hits your throat and then it goes down and it slams into the bottom of your stomach and then it hits your throat again. And then you're just like, I might puke. But that's what that was like for me, because that was not what I was expecting at all. But electrical work can be really expensive. Like, it just can. But anyway, so I get off the phone with this guy and I'm just like, holy shit, dude. Like, that's insane. That's so much money. And I need to make phone calls. Like, I need to call some more people to get some more quotes or, like, arrange. Like, is this, like, normal? So in between juggling the rest of my day and my clients and stuff, I'm trying to call people. And I hold it in all day because I'm panicking like any, I don't know, like maybe normal person would do. Because I'm like, oh my God, dude, like, this is so much money. So I make it through my day without having a full meltdown. I sit in my car at the end of the day to calm myself down, for one, because I haven't had a moment to, like, react to this. And for 2, I start calling these people. So I'm trying to get people on the phone. Dude, no one wants to give you a range. All these companies, a lot of these companies now, they just have, like, these receptionist people. The technicians are the people that actually give you the quote. So, they're all like, well, I can't give you a quote on that, but I can have someone come out and do a free estimate or a $99 estimate. And then they can tell you exactly what's wrong. And don't worry, the $99 will go towards the work. Yeah, no fucking shit, Sherlock. Yeah, it better go towards the work. What the fuck? You guys are out here just charging like thousands and thousands of dollars for, like, bro, what the fuck? Like, we should have all been electricians. Like, this is crazy. Like, so expensive. But anyway, so I end up, like, the only guy I talk to who I get a range from, he's just like, yeah, it would be somewhere between like $6,000 to $8,000, but it depends on how close the feeder is, right? Which once again is like the connecting, how far is the meter from the utility box, or the breaker box. But he said it was going to take 2 weeks to fix. So, fun fact, like, when this happens, when this goes out, like, you're not supposed to stay at the house. It's a fire risk. It's a big deal. Like, you shouldn't stay there. So my tenants had to leave. So I'm like, I can't have them out for 2 weeks. Like, that's insane. So I ended up going with the original people, and the guy ended up, like, I don't know, he got it down to like 7,500 or something like that, because my tenant was like military, and he was like, oh, I could give you a military discount. I was like, well, fuck, like, give me something, dude, because this is crazy. Like, this is just so unexpected. But they were super nice. They finally got it fixed, and got everybody back in Friday, so like 2 days ago. So my tenants were out of the house for 5 days. So I was like, whew. So that wasn't like too bad, and I'm glad it's done. And with each one of these experiences, I'm just like, wow, I learned so much. But also, dude, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what all you guys have dealt with, but owning a house, like, sometimes I'm like really glad that Sean and I just rent, like, here in Atlanta, because if there is something that goes wrong, like, yeah, like, we'll take care of it, but you know, and then we'll have like our landlord reimburse us, or if she can send somebody out quick, then we'll do it that way. But man, like, it can be crazy. Like, I'm like, I want a new house when we buy one, like, not an old house, because geez, like, since I've had this house in 2.5 years, I feel like I've slowly just replaced every little piece of it, minus like the roof. But anyway, so yeah, this week's been nuts. It's been nuts. Um, let's see. And other updates. Oh, um, so I don't know, I don't AI is like in a weird spot right now. Um, I just feel like I don't know, like everyone's mentality on it is so scattered, but like it's a big change, Like it's going to change the landscape of how we do everything. And I think that most people, when confronted with change, are more, they're more likely to be scared and stressed than like anything, And there's just like a lot already going on in the world. So, like, super, super side note, and I'm not going to touch on this very long because, like, I don't do politics, and I don't want to talk to anyone about politics, and I don't ever want anyone to comment on this and talk about politics because it's fucking stupid. But, dude, Trump just goes in last week and just fucking kidnaps a president and his wife. Just fucking bam bam, just like takes these people and brings them back to America. Like, that's like the craziest, most gangster shit like I have ever fucking heard in my fucking life. It's crazy. Like, that's some crazy shit. And I don't care how you feel about it, right? Like, we're not gonna get into feelings once again, politics and stuff like that. But you have to admit that that's fucking crazy. That's crazy shit. Like, and like seeing how people are reacting to it, it's like, dude, it's freaking people the fuck out. They're like, oh my God, like, what's gonna happen? And there's like war and like, like all these things, right? It's just a prime example of like people reacting to things. They get scared because like they don't know the details of it. Like, all the people up there, like Trump and all his like people, like, they probably understand all the details. Like, we don't, we don't know all of them. They're not gonna tell us all the details. Like, you know? But anyway, so my point is with AI, right? So the landscape of AI, like everything is changing. No one knows what life is going to look like in a couple of years. They have a hard time like grasping it. So a lot of people are just like, fuck AI. Like, I'm not going to use that shit, you know? And then there's like all these other people that are like, bro, like I love it. I get like hella shit done with this. Like, dude, to all the business owners out there, like, dude, you need to be using AI. Your business is going to turn to dust in like the next 2 to 5 years if you're not using AI to move forward, to stay relevant, to get ahead, to be systemizing, to be building like really solid structures within your business as you like as you try to grow and move forward, right? Like as a company, like you always want to be growing. You always want to be hiring. You always want to be like moving and shaking in a forward direction. And staying relevant is a huge part of that. And AI can help you so much with that, you know? And then there's like, I don't know, I guess like the third option of people, like who just use it for like image creation or like, I don't know, like weird, silly things. Which, I mean, that's fine. Like, hey, however, like you unwind and shit, like if you want to like scroll Instagram and plug some, silly content creation stuff into like chat or, um, I don't know, be like, if I was a cat, what kind of cat would I be based on what you know about me, chat, you know? And bro, just like chat loves cats. Fucking loves cats, dude. If it can sneak a cat in an image that it's trying to make for you, it will sneak a cat in there, dude. It loves cats. It's crazy. Anyway, I know I derailed. I derailed. But it's all relevant. It's all relevant. So, as things move and change, there's a lot of different LLMs that have come out, right? Which is like Grok, um, Copilot is Microsoft's one, ChatGPT, Claude. There's all these different ones. And it's easy, I think, to just be like, oh, well, like, they're all the fucking same, right? But apparently, they're not. They're not. So, as you guys know, I'm, in the course of, like, I wrote a book, like, the end of this last year. And I'm really hyped on it. I'm really excited to be done with the first book and to be into, like, doing the edits and stuff. I've learned so much about writing this year and honestly just like grammar as like like using it like stylistically and to just show like attitude and emotion and like I don't know, I always looked at grammar as something like really fucking boring, but honestly it's not like and I've learned to really admire like more things as I'm reading, even if it's something that, even like in reading this Brimstone book, I'm like, fuck, dude, like you know, I don't know. It like the lady does a really good the author, she does a great job of like her descriptions. But also I'm like, okay, if this book is like 600 and something odd pages, which it is, the audiobook is 24 hours and 30 minutes long. Good God. But like I'm like 200 plus pages of it have to be like descriptive, just like so much like descriptive stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like the white of her hair was like the snowy caps of blah 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 mountains in the far north, you know, whatever of Sansaroth or whatever, and it's like, dude, it's constant. But like at the same time, I'm like, well, you have to admire that. I'm not like a highly descriptive writer. Like I'm not gonna tell you like the eye color of this person every time that like they're in a room and we need to talk about them because like dude, just imagine your own fucking eye color. I said it one goddamn time, two times. Like, do we need to say it more? Like, I don't think so, I don't know. Anyway, um but but like I admire it, you know what I mean? Because like it is a skill. It is a skill to do that, and it is a style. It's a style choice. You know what I mean? Me, I'm like a bullet point type girl. I'm just gonna give you just like enough for you to follow along and hopefully imagine something cool, you know? But like some of these people, it's like they're like full, like if you give them like a coliseum, they're painting the ceilings, they're painting the walls with their descriptions, and it's cool, you know? It's kind of interesting to see. But anyway, so the book is done, right? So I've been using chat as my copy editor. I have this long ass prompt, and I've been doing it like chapter by chapter, and like I'm very specific about it. You have to be very specific about it because if you don't, it will try to just rewrite your shit. So you have to be like, do not rewrite anything. Give me a line by line edit on like exactly what needs to be changed based on my prompt, which my prompt includes things like identify chunky sentences and tell me why they're chunky, what you would change, why you would change them. Identify all words that end in like dash ly, right? So like adverbs, you know, like he eyeballed the food greedily. Um, you know what I mean? Instead of saying something like he looked at the food with greed in his eyes and I could tell that he was going to eat everything on the table. You know what I mean? Like there's different ways to like word things that are a little smoother. And like Stephen King talks about that in his book on writing where he's just like try to eliminate as much of these fucking words as you can. And I agree because it just starts to stack up and just feel like I don't know, like chunky, I guess is the only way to describe it. So, anyway, so that's just a couple pieces of my prompt. It's like 2 pages long. It's very long, okay? Um, so, I've been using chat, I've been doing that chapter by chapter. And the point of it is I want to become a better writer as I'm going through and I'm editing my own work. Like with each book I write, I want to be better and better and better. I want people to be like, when they read it, I want them to be like, wow, you can really tell this was her first book. And like her writing got so good by like her fifth book is like crazy. You know what I mean? Like they're all good, but like, wow, like, you know, I don't know. I mean, ideally, as many times as I keep, as many passes as I've gone over this book and like I'm editing it, maybe it'll be like that on the first one. I don't know because my God, like the editing does seem never ending. Like it's it's crazy. So, I've been using Cursor to do like some coding stuff. Cursor is really cool, right? So this is another like AI thing. So it's like an AI coder. So imagine using ChatGPT, right? And you're like, hey, I need you to do this thing or whatever. So um, Cursor's the same way. It's really cool. So I can build anything, you know, like anything that I can like conceivably think of, which as a business owner is really, really cool. But also it's like a new skill that I'm having to learn. So I've been working on building an AI receptionist for the salon, strictly text. I want something that like handles like all of it reaches out to our leads anytime they fill out a form. Um, it handles like if we miss a call, it texts people immediately and it's just like, hey, you know, sorry we missed your call. Like, how can I help you today? Um, and also like when people just text our line, we're a very like text friendly, like future forward salon. So, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on, dude. People contact us via chatbot, via lead form, via phone call, text, email sometimes, Instagram, Facebook message. I mean, being a business owner nowadays is like, it's so insane and it's so multifaceted. I don't know how anyone out here is like doing it alone. Like, I personally have like a two-person management team. There's two of us owners, and I have a social media person. And like, we're only a team of like 13, like the salon, like total. And that includes like everybody, as far as like management and stuff too. But anyway, so as I'm like building this thing, you know, you're building the responses based on, well, I built mine based on data that I already have. So I took all these conversations, I'm training the AI on these conversations, and what it does is it picks out like certain keywords in the sentences, and based on those keywords, it triggers certain responses, right? And so as I'm training it, it tells me that for the gaps in between, we're going to need to use like a generic AI, and it suggested using Claude. So we need something that is going to be smart, that can like kind of go in and fill in the gaps, I guess, if that makes sense. So let's say that, it doesn't necessarily understand the response. And like there's no keywords or anything that triggers it. What it does is it takes the phrase, it sends it over to Claude and is like, hey, how would you respond to this? And then it will scan the conversation history, where like the workflows that I built already responded, and it will look at it and it will go, okay, cool. Here's where they are in the conversation. Here's like what I need to reply. Okay. And it only will do it if it has a certain confidence rating. All right. Um, and then, yeah, anyways, so, like I'm working on building it a brain also so it has information to pull from. But anyway, so it's a very complicated system. I won't get into explaining it to you because it's like it's one of my side ventures that I'm working on right now, and if I can really successfully pull it off, it's like one of the next things that I'm gonna try to like push forward with in my like business area of my life. Um, but anyways, so I had never used Claude before. All that build up is to get to this moment of what I'm telling you. So I'd never used Claude before. And so I'm asking like ChatGPT, I'm like, what is Claude good for? I'm talking to Cursor. What is Claude good for? Like, what's the difference? Why would you use this one and not just use Chat? Um, so apparently, and like I said earlier, all the LLMs they're all different. Some of them I think function really like similarly, but they're all it's like they all have a slightly different perspective on like how to go about things, and like also like their capacity for handling like certain things is all different, I guess, right? So like I don't know, you could imagine it like a personality maybe. So let's say for like a person, let's say you're like looking at a person and you've got like um how smart they are, how funny they are, how attractive they are, et cetera, right? So, each LLM, let's say it was like a 1 to 5 score, and let's say like ChatGPT is like a 5 on attractiveness, a 4 on smart, and like a 5 on funny, you know what I mean? Um, but then like one of the other ones it would be rated different. Anyway, obviously it's like way more extensive than that. So like that might be a bad like comparison. But anyway, so Claude is used a lot for very long like measurements of data, like big pieces of data. It can process up to 100,000 words at a time without really struggling too hard. So, this is really impressive. ChatGPT cannot do that. You can't dump a whole document into chat and just be like, scan this bitch and tell me what happens, you know? But you can with Claude. It's used for like scanning legal documents for errors, medical documents, like records and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, that is a major difference. And I'm sure there's like other things, right? Like its deep logic is like really, really good, but like chat's still like the homie, I feel like, like personally. So I was like, that's so cool. I wonder if I give it my long ass prompt that I've been using with chat, if it would just let me put my whole book in here and it could just give me like a like it would, I don't know, like before I have any like one person actually read it, like just having a outside perspective would be really cool. So I give it my prompt. I'm like, hey, like if I give you this, like here's kind of what I'm trying to do. Um, Here's kind of where some things are going. Here's some things that you would need to know as like as someone critiquing my work, right? Like I wouldn't give the reader this information, but here's some things that you would need to know based on like critiquing. And so I uploaded like my whole doc to it, and it came back and was just like, yeah, okay, cool. So like here's all the things you did really good. Here's some things that like don't exactly line up. So like in one of my books I have So my main character, his name is Jeb, okay, and um, the whole way that I even started writing this book, it's like kind of funny. Um, my friends Sarah and Manny, that we'll play Dungeons and Dragons with them sometime, and so we had played like one campaign for a little while, but then we started playing with my friend Cassie, so we play sometimes just the four of us, and I built like a whole new character. So Jeb uh, was supposed to be like this cool um, character. Like he has like this whole backstory with like this death cult, and he's got like this he, like he's just like this like kind of like sad but like angry character. So he has like these kind of like chaotic outbursts, and he's kind of like serious, but he's like witty too. He's just got like dry humor, and he's gonna have like all these like cool like rituals with just like ash and like I don't know, like dead things, right? Because it's around like the dead, and he worships like this like goddess of death. And so I had built like out this whole like cult backstory for Jeb. And like in doing so, I like made like this whole structure of like like the leader head of the cult is the mother, and she has these like grand matrons that like essentially have been like every mother that ever came before her, and they all look alike, and like every 5 years they replace like a new one, so they just like continue to look exactly the same, and they're kind of like these veiled figures. The mother's got like these crazy like white eyes, um and like just like it's so cool. It was so fun to like build a cult. I know we like obviously have like our viewpoints about them, but it's all fantasy. So so um I made this whole backstory, and he was gonna be like a hand of judgment, and which is like these like essentially in like this world that I've built. It's like, okay, like death is very sacred, right? So like only the goddess of death can like take a death, right? So it's like kind of like in the inverse of like taking a life, like it's the same thing, but anyway. So it's like no one murders, and if someone like takes a life as if it was their own, they're like essentially stealing that from the goddess of death. And so there has to be divine retribution, right? Because, like, what is religion without divine retribution? Or at least in a fantasy world, right? So she has, the leader head of the cult is the mother, but the mother is essentially, like she's like goddess blessed. And so everything that comes through her is essentially like it came from the goddess. So she has these eyes, and the eyes, they go out, and they keep an eye on like everything, and they hear all the whispers and all the rumors, and like they catalog like people that are like taking these deaths for their self, and who are spitting in the face of this goddess. And they report back to the mother, and then the mother commands the hands to go out and snatch up these accused, and then bring them back to the temple, and perform a judgment rite, the trial of shadows. And they tie them to this pillar at the temple, and they essentially, when these people are kidnapped, they're accused of like taking a death for their own, from their like with their own hands. And also suicide's like viewed the same way, like, so you can't take your own life either, because you're taking a death from the goddess, right? And so you can give them a list of people to come and um essentially like speak on your behalf, like vouch for you at your trial. But here's the thing, in all of the history, there's never been a case where when the eyes went out and they picked one of these accused, that they were wrong in who that they picked. and that that person wasn't guilty. They're always guilty. And so the hands execute the judgment rites, and generally, like in the old times, they were killed via like just like simpler ways, like slit throat, slit wrist, um dagger to the liver, like, or just like your guts. But yeah, so anyway, so like this was kind of like the whole backstory I had in mind, right? And then I was like, okay, so there needs to be like a rival cult though, right? And they need to be like at war, like kind of. And so I built this whole other organization called The Light, and they're supposed to be like really good, really righteous. They worship the god of light and truth, the goddess of light and truth, and they do everything for the people, and um it's just very like good, right? But nothing is good as it seems on the surface when it's like that white and gold and shiny and perfect, and how generous we are and stuff, like, so anyway, I'm not gonna dive too much into that one. I don't want to give too much away about like my future books that I'm gonna do for the series. But it was interesting, in writing. It was so cool to read Stephen King's book because he's a discovery writer. So, like most people who aren't like pursuing writing probably don't know this, but you've got different kind of writers. So you have discovery writers. So discovery writers kind of just like sit down, and it's like the universe is just like channeling like this story to you and these characters to you. And sometimes it's like chunky, right? Like, and you have to stop. Like for me, it was like there were times that I had to stop and be like, who is this character, like, really, like what happened to them, like what is their backstory, what was their their life like with their parents, what made them become this person that they now are, you know what I mean? Because, like, I don't know, I feel like good characters are built based on like almost like their worst flaws, right? Like, so in order to know like what that even is, or like say it's manifested, but it's like why, like if this person has an extreme need to be accepted, what happened to them to make them this way? If this person has like a huge need to be in control and to like have power, why? What happened to them to make them need all of this power, right? So like sometimes I would have to pause, and my favorite thing to do would be to just like put on like a voice memo and just fucking just like try to like think out loud and just talk it through. And then, maybe I'd get like one little piece of the puzzle, and then I'd go back and re-listen to it, and then I'd record another voice memo where I'd be like, okay, so here's the piece we came up with previously, and here's what I'm thinking, like maybe like his mom like died in childbirth, and like his dad like blames him for, being like this just like remnant, and like taking love of his life from him, and like, or whatever, right? So that's just an example. That's not for Jeb, that's for a different character that I have. But anyways, so like that's kind of like how it was, how I originally had it, right? So Jeb's gonna be like this scorned character, and he's gonna have like just like all this baggage, and but he's gonna be like a fun character to like play in D&D, because he'll be like just kind of like doing his thing, and then he'll just have like these random outbursts, and then it's just like all the like torches are flickering, and like there's like these big booming voices coming out of the clouds, and all of a sudden like the party that we're now like has chosen to fight us, like they're all pissing themselves because they don't understand what the fuck's happening. And he's got like all these like crazy like powers and stuff. So anyway, he's still my D&D character and he's still really cool to play, but like him as my D&D character versus like what he's like turned into as like a story character, it has been so weird and interesting and crazy to like see like how that has gone. Oh, and then I didn't finish my thought earlier. Okay, so sorry guys. There's two different kinds of writers. So you have discovery writers, right? So it's like yeah, like it does feel very much like you're like channeling some like otherworldly thing. And it's I know that sounds fucking woo woo to say, but like it really is like that. Like it just kind of comes to you. And then you have outliners, okay? So outliners, they literally map out every single piece of the story, how every single thing is going to go, like different like conversations that need to be have. Like I mean it is like highly specific. Like I know there's like one author in particular that I follow that I really like. Her name's V.E. Schwab, and she's written Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil was her latest release, and she had also written The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is like a fucking classic. They're both really, really cool books. Like the premise for each, just so you have, I guess, you know, like if you guys ever want to read these, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil is about a chick that grows up in I think like the 1500s in Spain, and she you know in that time like as a woman like your only option basically is just to get married, and she just kind of never fit that mold, which is kind of like at least out of those two books is kind of like a theme. And she ends up you know like becoming a vampire, and it just kind of like throws shows her journey over 500 years. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. And it shows her, it shows another character that she ends up like she essentially becomes her lover, and then it shows another character that's like in present day. So it's really cool. She does such a good job. Like I really admire the way that she is able to flip through timelines, and they're like timelines that have really happened. And it's ones that like me as an American, like I know nothing about Spain or France or London. And so it really like pulls you in, and it like definitely taps into kind of that escapism thing that like books give you, right? But it's really cool because it's like times that were real, and so it gives you like these peeps almost like into history while also being completely fantasy, you know. And I don't know, I've talked to some people and some people feel like oh like fantasy doesn't belong like in real world, but like I think it does. And I think you just have to do it in a very excellent way, and then it's like something really beautiful, you know? And she does an excellent job of that. She does an excellent job. But anyway, so and then the other book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and her the premise for that one is really cool. So it's essentially this girl, she's about to get married. She doesn't want to get married, so obviously some of these things like there's like a you know similar circumstances in her books, and in this you know village or whatever where this chick lives, they say, you know, pray to the gods in the day, and you know, maybe they help you, maybe you get an answer, but never pray to the gods at night, because what you find there will only bring you trouble, right? So she ends up not realizing it, but she ends up praying to a god of night, and he answers, and she ends up being given immortality. Um, but the price is that she's invisible, like no one can see her. And so it shows her life over the span of like hundreds of years, through time, through different places, what she did. Like, and it's really cool to imagine, like, I think really being able to put yourself in a character's shoes and be like, what would that be like to live for so long and like to not be remembered, you know? Kind of like, so Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, the theme was hunger, okay? But in this book, I'm not sure exactly what the theme is, like I haven't confirmed it by like going and looking it up or anything. but I do feel like it touches on legacy. And I think that's something that the ones of us who are ambitious think about. Like, what mark am I leaving on the world? Like, when I'm gone, what am I leaving, you know? And for her, it was like she's immortal, but she can like never really leave a mark because she's invisible. That was the price, you know? So that book was really cool. Highly suggest both reads. Like, they're both fantastic. I eventually would like to read all of her books. They're all so, so good. Um, but anyway, I really, really spun off on that one, man. Um, okay, so yes, there are discovery writers, there are outline writers. I totally thought that I was going to be an outline writer. When I sat down to write this book, I I knew of certain like big like plot points, right? Like this is gonna happen, this person's gonna die, or this thing, you know what I mean? I started like mapping things out. Like I know who my villain is. Jeb, clearly my main character of the series, which I liked because I feel like most fantasy books that I read, the main character is a girl. And I feel like that's because one, like I didn't realize for a long time it's like the genre I was reading was like fantasy, but it's like really like leaning into romantasy. And so like there's always like that like underlying like you know it's gonna come up like there's these people are gonna fall in love and these people are gonna fall in love and these people are always mates and you know mine like it always is like the same fucking thing. It becomes really predictable after you've read like I don't know like 50 or 100 of them. I read a lot of them. I read a lot of fantasy series, like so many. Because I felt like after COVID, when I started like reading again, like I had not been like devouring books really. I just been listening to business books because like obviously, you know, I'm trying to be really good at having businesses. That's like they're my babies, you know? And I guess I just kind of like forgot that hey, you can just read for fun, Tori. Like that's completely okay, you know? And so I started picking that back up again after like COVID and I just like due to like my appetite for it was like thick. So I read so many books. So at a certain point I guess it just I don't know. There's gonna be Fae and there's gonna be a vampire and there's gonna be werewolves and like the werewolves and the vampires aren't gonna get along and then like the Fae won't like the vampires but one of the Fae will fall in love with vampire like I don't know it just like it just becomes like you just start to see things coming man you know but you appreciate the creative spins that you see for what they are and you just collect them and you keep going right and I guess that's why I'm here now I guess that's why I now have ended up writing something of my own like I want something a little I don't know like I just want to do something different than like all the things that I've read, I guess, you know? But take the things that I did enjoy and like see if I can, I don't know, use that for inspiration. But, anyways, so Jeb, my main character, originally, like when I sat down to map out this book and write out this book, he was like an adult the whole time. Because I feel like a lot of the books that I read, like the main character is always like, dude, they're like a teenager. They're like 18. You know what I mean? Like their little frontal lobe isn't developed yet. It's like always some toxic shit with the relationships. They're always just like, oh, he could never love me. You know, and it's like, dude, like this guy's like throwing himself at you, like, and you're so stupid. Like, I think I've just come to the realization that it's like, no matter how like strong the character is that people build, like, right, like they're weak. They're weak now, and oh, now they're strong. Oh, they're weak again. Okay, well, they got stronger, and like it's like this whole like yank you back and forth thing. You're like, well, are they fucking weak? Are they fucking strong, dude? Like, ugh, like just fucking like make the climb steady or like just pick one. Just any of those options is good, right? So, um I think having a character that's a little older like just helps with that, I guess, you know, but I don't know, you know? I'm like, can we get somebody that's like 28, 30, you know? Like and then they can fall in love like if they want, but then it'll just be like I don't know, a little more black and white, I guess, like just a little more like yeah, maybe there's some unsureties, but like at least it won't be like this weird teen angst situation. Because God, if I have like a fucking book slash TV show slash movie pet peeve, it is 100% teen angst, dude. Like, I like, okay, first off with TV shows, bro, these actors and actresses are like 30, like, and they're playing characters that are like 17, okay? Like, it, like, and it would just be unrealistic shit. They're like in high school and they're going to all these parties and they're like sleeping around and doing all this shit. It's like college shit. Like, like you guys like are really doing a disservice. Like putting this out there that like this is what teens' lives are supposed to look like. You know what I mean? Like fuck you guys for that. Like whoever you are, like you shouldn't be doing that. You tell it taking these kids down a not good path, man. Like that's not what it's like. It's not what it should be like. But anyways, but to go back to the toxic relationship shit, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, when I write, I don't want any of that. I'm a regular human being with a regular, like, good relationship. And I think that you can show, like, a buildup into that and a buildup of two people, like, deciding that they are, like, best friends, and lovers instead of, like, just, like, the physical part of it, dude. That part, like, is not what's, you know, like everlasting, right? And like if you're some chick that's 18 and you're gonna be with this vampire that's like 500 years old, you know what I mean? Like first off, like you're 18, you shouldn't be talking to him. Like, is there not like that's like an age discrepancy? You know what I'm saying? Like you could at least be like a little bit older. Like he could at least wait for your freaking frontal lobe to harden up so that you can like be a human being and like a person with like like the ones of you who are older, you know what I mean. The ones of you who are younger, you probably think I'm full of shit, but you'll find out one day. You'll find out. Like, you'll have your little quarter life crisis, and then you'll figure everything out, and it'll start to come into focus for you. You know what I mean? Anyway, so, like, I wanted adult characters, But, dude, like, as I began writing, as I was kind of saying earlier, like, these characters, like, they end up kind of, like you end up finding like this backstory about them and all this stuff. So, I ended up writing like most of my characters. Like Jeb is 12 for most of this book. I have another character who's 14 and 15. Another character that's like 16 through like 21. Because I got different timelines. Um, and another character that's like, oh, she's always like 2 years younger than Jeb. So like they essentially all end up being like kids and teens. Um, but because it's such like a rough landscape for like what the world looks like, I don't know. It's so interesting. Like it is not what I sat down to write, and I didn't even get to the big part of like, you know, like I had like this grand like murder in mind, and that's not going to be in book one. Um, Unfortunately, it ended up like way more twisted than I had even imagined it was going to be. Um, some of the rituals and stuff are crazy. Like writing about cults, like dude, you can really spin off. Like you really can just you can get as crazy as you want with it. So I am really excited during the holidays, during Christmas. I mapped out book two. Um, and I said I'm not really like an outliner, but like I kind of am. So it's like I'm gonna write an outline only to completely throw it away anytime I'm writing a scene. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna stick to some of it, but then some of it I'm just gonna like a lot of it is just going to be off the cuff, right? Because it just comes down to knowing the world, knowing what's happening in the world, knowing the organizations that you're writing about, and understanding the characters and how they would move in such a chaos, right? And I think that's the fun part of writing. Like, if you really enjoy reading, um, like, dude, I think, gosh, I think more people should try their hand at writing. Like, read a couple of books on writing, okay? Take it all with a grain of salt because everyone does it different. So there's not going to be any one way, to do it. But for me, I know specifically I didn't want to follow any tropes. and I didn't want to follow any formulas. So as I've been reading stuff, like it's like there's been some things that are like, oh, like here's some like classic formulas, or like I've been reading this book called Save a Cat, like the only book you need to know, like to have to write a novel, which like that's not true, but that one is like, oh, okay, like there this many genres of stories, and then it breaks down like a book, and then it tells you like essentially like the main ingredients, right? So it's almost like a recipe book for stories. So it's like if you're gonna have like this genre, then it needs to have these components. So I would highly suggest reading that one if that's something like you're into. But it is just interesting. It's just interesting to see stuff broken down, but it can make things even more predictable as you're watching shows and reading things. The more you learn about it. But anyways, so I didn't want to like follow all of that. That's not how Stephen King does his stuff. Which it was nice to like read his book and be like, oh, okay, cool. So like there's just a bunch of different ways to do it. I don't know if there is any one true wrong way to do it. There's like a wrong way for it to come out, right? Like it can come out like hot garbage for sure, right? Like there's probably some people who it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't write. But like I'm of the belief that if you have something that you're passionate about, like you really are I really love this thing. I really enjoy this thing. Then there is no reason that you cannot learn to do it. Like, dude, we have the internet, we have AI, we have books, we have all these people with past experiences that have done it. You've got YouTube. Like, dude, if you really want to learn a skill, any skill. Like I just got a class on coding. Like by all counts, that's not something that I should learn. Like if you want to put me in like a tiny little box, I'm a hairstylist. I should have never been anything more than a hairstylist. Probably should have never learned anything more than hairstyling. But like fuck that, dude. I'm going to learn everything. Like I love to learn, and like like one of the curses of like fucking ADD, ADHD is that like you're all over the place. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy so many different things. Um, and like that's a big part of who I am, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so like if you want to learn it, you can learn it. Like there's other people who can teach it, right? So like why could you not learn it? Just open your brain, and it hurts at first to try to expand it, but then your brain gets used to it, and you just have a higher tolerance for learning. It's really cool. Um, but yeah, anyway, so so it's really interesting. So I ended up writing like a bunch of these characters as kids. Some of them kind of like coming into like adulthood kind of like early because the world is so rough. But anyway, all of that to circle back to, so I put it in Claude, and Claude was able to come back and say like, hey, like Jeb's supposed to be like 12, and you've got like some stuff in here that's a little philosophical, philosophical for a 12-year-old. So you might want to think about like changing that. And so I was able to go, well, like where specifically does it sound that way? And it was able to go, oh, chapter blank, on this line, chapter blank on this line. And so I was able to go back and just kind of like modify like some of these things, because it's like, oh, like I never really thought about the fact that like he doesn't really sound like a child in some areas, you know what I mean? But also, it's a rough world, and they should sound a little more grown up, you know what I mean? Just based on the responsibilities that are heaped upon them. But, originally, until shit kind of starts hitting the fan, Jeb has lived a pretty fucking cushy life, man? Um, but anyway, so it was really cool that I was able to use Claude as a tool, and it was able to go in and like just expose some things and just be like, oh, like, these things don't make sense. These things don't make sense. And some of them weren't supposed to make sense. Like some of them were like plot twists and like fun little like nuggets that I like hid in there. And so it was like kind of cool to see, because it's an LLM, dude. It's AI. Like it's not a human. So like unless you explain it, it's not going to be able to get some of the nuanced things that I think like a human can piece together, right? One of the fun parts about reading a book is the problem solving. Like when you hear a story, your brain is constantly trying to go like, what's happening next? What's happening next? Like, what, how could this work? Or like, why would they do that? Like, you know? And like, that's like the stimulating and fun part about reading a book. So being on like the reverse side of it is really cool because like you are the problem creator. So it's like I'm creating all of these problems and like some of it too, it's just, you know, like I said, it's like you got this like fucking like stream coming from the universe. So it's like sometimes I'm writing shit and I'm like, why? Why would you do this? Don't do that, you know? But like, but also like, do that, you know? Because it's like, it's fucked up and it's fun, you know? It's like fun to see things like escalate and move along. So, so it was, yeah, so I like with Claude, it was really cool to see that. And I was able to just drop like my outline for book two in there. And, you know, I'm like, look, some of the stuff that you're like telling me is fucking irrelevant because this is a series. It's not like one whole digestible book. So understand, here's what's on the horizon. Here's where I'm going with it. Here are the things that I plan to include in the next book, right? Like, which I'm like, fuck, I hope I can all fit it in like book two. Because like, dude, I was not able to fit the things I wanted to in book one, like at all. Um, yeah, not without like lulling it back down. Like your book is supposed to build, right? So it was like, I don't know. I guess you can do. I've read books where they're long and they have like a big climax and then they kind of like lull, but mine was like build, 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 build. Oh fuck. And then I'm supposed to go all the way back down to like just starting from ground zero and building again. I don't fucking think so, dude. So, so I decided to cut it right there. So it ends in kind of like a messed up spot, but like it's enjoyable because you're like, fuck, what's gonna happen now? It's crazy. Um, but anyway, so highly useful tool. Highly suggest. You know, using for. They're just such good tools. There's so many good tools out here. Like it blows my mind. Um, just how much is available, but it's just I think that we have information overload. Like how are you supposed to know like what's out there? Like you don't even know that you like need these things or that you could use these things, like Jesus, like I went from having like a chat gbt subscription for like 20 bucks a month to now I have a Claude subscription for 20 bucks a month because I don't think I can live without this thing now, and fucking Cursor for like $60 a month for coding, and eventually I'll learn to do more coding by myself, because I really could easily be on the $200 a month plan for Cursor, with all of the fucking empirical, groundbreaking, legendary shit I'm trying to build for my company and hopefully to eventually, like lease to other companies. But, um, dude, yeah, the rabbit hole on everything is endless, guys. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. So, ugh, yeah. Anyways, Sean brought me a fucking chai tea latte, so I kind of I spun off there. So that's what I got for the day. I appreciate you guys listening, and just keeping up with my crazy fucking life. Like, um, I've enjoyed podcasting. I used to have a podcast with my friend Jaden called Epic Nuggets, and it's still up on YouTube. We did like 24 episodes, and it was fun. We just dove into Reddit holes and just talked shit, and it was always like a really good time. And so, when I decided to do this again, it was just like I just need something that can be random, and that I can just kind of like throw up and like edit just whenever, and also is a way for, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm like a shut-in now because dude, I have so many projects that I'm working on and so many things that just like they don't, it's not even that they demand my attention. It's like, dude, they like suck me in. Like I will disappear for days, like coding, you know what I mean? And just doing different things, the things that I'm working on, trying to, push and fucking get ahead. Like if I want to like part-time, like kind of like retire, in the next couple of years, like I gotta fucking grind, dude. I gotta fucking grind. And like, unfortunately, the price of grinding and like making shit happen and like popping the fuck off is like kind of dropping off the map for a couple of years. You know what I mean? Like I really do think that's kind of like the cost of it. But anyway, so I hope some of my people can like listen to this podcast and just kind of like keep up with my like what I have going on, you know what I mean? Because I just feel like I don't always see everybody. So appreciate y'all. I hope you have an amazing fucking week. Kill it. Go look up Claude. Maybe you have a use for it in your life. That shit's cool, man.